Sarah was introducing us to the Confraternity of Christian Mothers, established when, Sarah?
In 1858, roughly, right
Perfect.
around. Right. So what we had going on, last session, Karen really did a great explanation of how we moved from kind of the profundity of a strong Christian element within Europe to a very low functioning of the church. I mean, by the end of the year, many Christians sort of had their tail between their legs. They felt that they were losing out to all of these new scientific movements and these promotions of rationalism through Kant and through Descartes and um, Charles
Darwin.
Darwin and Marxism. Right? These are really these movements are really in the ascendancy, and the people who are bearing the real brunt of that chaos are the mothers and the children and the families. And so in 1858, when I've actually forgotten the name of the woman, and I don't currently have my book with me. Um, a noble woman in France, in Lille, realized that her children, and as a result of her husband also being very caught up in these very atheistic, socialistic ideas, um, that they were losing their faith. And so a number of women banded together to create what's called the Confraternity of Christian Mothers. And it was rapidly approved by the Vatican, and a number of prayers, a daily prayer was created for them, and a number of ways of gaining indulgences were provided by the Vatican specifically for that particular confraternity as a way for them to help obtain graces to spiritually fight against what was truly a material heretic, right? A material heresy that was coming in. And it expanded very, very rapidly. I believe that it came to the United States within 30 years. And it's actually its biggest area right now is in the United States, right? Many of these confraternities in Europe have really gone defunct. I mean, it's very disappointing because it's so essentially necessary. But this prayer book that we're going to be talking about today, is probably one of the progenitors of the primary prayer book that would have come out, because this is written in French, right? So there were people who were in Germany, people who were in France, who were beginning to accumulate this very, very beautiful language of prayer to kind of be a bulwark against this onslaught against women and children through this material heresy, right? Where, families became, like you think of like Percy Shelley and all of these radical, authors became very, very down on marriage. The socialists were very, very happy to introduce divorce and all kinds of, I mean, really, they are material problems, right? Man does not want to be bothered by any discomfort or any annoyance, and so he just wants a radical solution to all of those things. And we know that anytime that there is a rise in sinfulness, the innocent are going to be the ones who suffer the most when all of those are brought in. And so consequently, anybody who would want to look it up right now, there is actually a new website that is being developed. And we're coming on to next year is going to be the 175th anniversary of this organization. And, look it up, because if you are looking for some way to band together with you and other mothers in a spirit of prayer, where you commit to your own spiritual formation and the spiritual and Christian education of your children, there are resources for you to do that. And not only resources, there are graces that can really help you to achieve that end, through the church, as this really is open to us as a gift. I honestly wish that I had known about it when I was a young mother, starting all of these little mothers groups or babysitting co-ops and all of these different things that we had tried to do, in a spirit of Christian sisterhood. But we did not know that level of secondary grace through these indulgence prayers and through the potential of having a spiritual director who would offer masses each day for the intention, I mean, each month for the intentions of the women and children was available.
That's right. So can you tell us, what are some of the, I will of course have the website and contact and all that in show notes and that sort of thing. But can you can so do you have to say certain prayers each day? Do you have to have a certain meeting? Are there dues? Some of the particulars.
Right. So every mother commits herself to saying one very short prayer, which is generally a very small litany, where there are certain patrons of the confraternity. So we ask the intercession of our guardian angel, of Saint Joseph, of Saint John the Baptist, Saint John the Beloved, Saints Anne and Joachim, the parents of the Blessed Mother, and then some of the, well, Saint Elizabeth, of course, but some of the more modern saints, right? We go to Augustine and to Monica and to Saint Rose of Lima and Saint Aloysius and Saint Anthony of Padua. These are some of the primary patrons of the organization. And that prayer is recited daily. The mother who joins the organization makes that as a commitment. Now, there's many places don't actually have access to a confraternity, and so there is a way to just join yourself to the confraternity as an individual mother through the arch confraternity that is based out of Pittsburgh. If, however, you're able to gather a group of women who would like to create their own confraternity underneath the spiritual director of your local parish priest, he does actually need to get the permission of his local bishop, and the confraternity would then become sort of incarnated into that parish. And then there would be more obligations, as it were. Then you would hope that you could meet once a month, that there could be a mass attached to that meeting. Dues could be based upon whatever the intent of your organization would be. I mean, they could range very, very low if you don't intend to do, because really this is not I want to make sure that people understand the Confraternity of Christian Mothers is not another women's group, right? This truly is a contemplative mothers movement within the heart of the church. And it's specifically directed not towards fundraising, not towards bake sales, not towards, altar cloths or anything like that. It is fundamentally directed toward, first of all, the spiritual formation of the individual mothers themselves, right? So doing some spiritual reading together. And then secondarily, to making sure that you are doing something proactive to assist with the spiritual and Christian education of your children and your husbands, really, to pray for them. So there are a number of different levels, right, that you could have that. And what's kind of interesting about this particular movement right now is that for very many years, a number of older and venerable women have been keeping this movement alive. But now what we have is this kind of juxtaposition where newer and more traditionally minded parishes, women are discovering things that had sort of been lost, like this prayer book that we're going to be introducing, right? We're rediscovering these beautiful parts of our patrimony that had kind of gone fallow, right? And realizing that if we dig up that dirt, the earth is going to yield its fruit through them, right? But then, so we have these very young confraternities, and then we have these very old confraternities. So we're hoping that our Lord will marry those two so that these older confraternities, that younger mothers will want to come in and join those, and that in the new confraternities, that mothers who are struggling with their children maybe having left the faith, that they too would come in and join this organization so that we can really bond our prayers together, because we need both our senior citizens, we need our grandmothers, and we need our young mothers to be praying in one united voice for the restoration of really faith, an active faith in our husbands and an active faith in our children. We really need to be praying for that. And that's its primary goal.
And
So,
an initial one of the initial founders, was it Zelly Martin?
Yeah, well, we have not 100% confirmed that. In the early papers, it was known that she did attend some of the meetings in Lille, where she was living near there. Um, she would have probably known of the woman who was starting it, and it would have been a venerable woman within the society there. So most of the women probably would have been compelled to at least go and hear what she had to say. We have not yet been able to find the actual paperwork that, other than oral tradition, we have not found any documentary paper evidence. But that's something that we're working on this year for the 175th anniversary. And like I said, unfortunately, most of the confraternities have gone very fallow in France. But we've come across one now that is there who has found all of the paperwork, right? They've seen all the prayers, but they are not, in fact, incarnated yet into the official confraternity. So our spiritual director, Father Director, is hoping that we can make a connection with them this year and really try and replant this seed back in the European soil and get this movement going again.
Absolutely. And it's one last point before we go to the next idea is that you have this wealth of intercessory prayer, both current
Yes, yes,
and past
yes,
members, and
that's right.
that is
Yeah.
that's quite a help, and that's just quite a help,
When you
regardless.
said that, I got like the spiritual goosebumps. That is exactly true. Like it's an incredible, because within the confraternity there are, I mean, we're not talking about one woman praying for your children, 15 women praying for your children. Realistically speaking, there are probably in the tens of thousands of women daily praying this prayer for you specifically and for your children. But in addition to them, all of the deceased members of the confraternity, which does go back substantially to, 1858. As a matter of fact, really, that's another thing that we should probably be looking into, is to see if there's any one among those members that, might be of particularly virtuous note that could become. I mean, obviously we have Zilly Martin through oral tradition. But if we could find somebody who we might be able to bring about the cause of canonization for, that would be a really wonderful, blessing that the Lord might be able to bestow on the confraternity and the arch confraternities.
Please God, let it be so, and sooner rather than later.
Right,
All right,
right.
my friends, let us pick up in the next episode. Till then,
Hey,
my
sorry, can I just add one quick thing?
sure.
I was just going to let you know that there was a woman who is in the confraternity. She's the current national lady president. And over the past 3 years, they have also written, there's a book called Mother Love, which is known to be associated with the confraternity as their formal prayer book. And I'm not going to be surprised if we find commonalities between the prayer book that you have and this Mother Love prayer book. But they just did this intense 4 years of work, taking all of the various mother love books that have been written over the past 175 years, and they have created a brand new book. So, not to steal the thunder from the current book that we're going to be talking about, but these resources, because one of the things that we talk about during this program a lot is to make sure that you are maintaining a daily prayer life. And I think one of the problems that many people have is we just have never really been taught how to pray well. And some of these prayers are simply profoundly beautiful. You cannot pray them and not feel holier, right? So, we'll talk more concretely about the book that we're looking at, but Karen can also make sure that when you go to that link for the Confraternity of Christian Mothers, the availability of that book, it is now officially ready for release, and people will be able to buy it now through their confraternity site. So that's a great
Awesome.
blessing.
That is a great blessing. Fabulous, fabulous. All right, my friends, till the next time, Fide Satratio.